Hello and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. In this one, myself and George from Ingenuity Fantasy, which if you don't know about Ingenuity Fantasy, the link is in the description below, ingenuityfantasy.com. They've got all sorts of good stuff. They've got Opta match stats. They've got articles from various people within the FPL space. They've got the player rankings, which we're going to be talking about today. And they've got a transfer wizard to help you choose who to buy, in what budget and what position. It's all good stuff. Completely free. So if you haven't already, do check that out. But yeah, myself and George are going to be talking about our player rankings. So it's the top 10 players in each category. And the categories are budget defenders, premium budget mids, budget forwards, premium forwards. So let's get straight into it.
Right, welcome back to another edition of FPL Player Rankings with myself and Brad, and we will start off as always with budget defenders. So a bit of a difference near the top, same sort of players, but just in a slightly different order. I've gone for Hall at 1, and you've gone for Munoz at 1.
Yeah, Munoz for me, well, it's a common theme to be honest that Palace players have risen up all of the lists for me. Their fixtures are just an absolute joke. So it's Southampton at home. I've got them up here. Southampton at home, then Chelsea at home, which admittedly for defenders isn't the best. For attackers it's not so bad, but then it's Leicester, West Ham, Brentford at home. So those four of them, it is about as good as it gets. So that's the reason that he's there for me.
Yeah, and as you know, he plays ridiculously attacking. I can't think of many other fullbacks in the Prem who do get as far forward as Munoz. I think, for me, my only reservations, or the only reason I have Hall slightly higher than Munoz in that sense, obviously Munoz, attacking-wise, is an incredible threat, but I just don't quite believe in Palace's clean sheet ability yet. Whereas Newcastle, have shown it in multiple games across the last couple of weeks that they are more than capable of keeping a clean sheet, even against, teams which have showed a high scoring potential. So, someone like Hall, just, in amongst that defence, and, we've still got Botman to come back, but with Tonali in front of them, we just look like a much better defensive unit. So I think the only reason that Hall pips in there is just that defensive element.
Yeah, Newcastle are looking very, very good at the moment, to be honest. Last kind of 3-4 games have looked, like you say, pretty solid at the back, but going forward have looked really good as well. So yeah, that's the reason we've both got Hall in our top 2. Obviously, Livramento's dropped out for both of us. Well, yeah, it makes sense really, just given that he didn't play. So yeah.
So that will be in no small part down to Trippier getting the start. It's just hard to. I imagine it'll be some sort of rotation between the two, just because they can also both play the backup left back spot. So I think that will be, moving forward, we'll see those three rotated at those two positions. But for now, it looks like Hall's the one who's most nailed, just because he's naturally left-footed. So yeah, Livramento a bit tricky to trust going forward. And then another one which has, been quite the divide in the FPL space, the Robinson v Castagna debate. Now, given they are both part of the same defence, I mean, without, the injury to Tete, Robinson would be an incredible shout, and he still is an incredible shout. It just makes it hard to justify the extra price, given, you can get Castagna for far cheaper, and he will offer some attacking output, as we saw on the last set of fixtures.
Yeah, he got an assist. I've not actually seen the assist, so I don't know quite if it was like your typical defender assist or not. But yeah, regardless, clearly doing something right. I do think Robinson is probably. I mean, Robinson's ahead for both of us. He's only one place ahead, but that's probably just down to reliability more than anything. Albeit they're both pretty similar. Both fullbacks are the same team. A defence that's pretty good and has got pretty good fixtures, so both good options. If you're buying one, then at the moment it does just make sense to save that 0.7 million.
Yeah, completely. If Tete was out for a shorter amount of time, then you could definitely make the Robinson argument, but he's looking like he's going to miss the rest of the season. So Castagna is, it's because he offers stuff going forward as well. It's just hard to really justify Robinson over him at the moment. But saying that, if you do have Robinson, it's not worth wasting a transfer moving to Castagna, and it's much better to use that elsewhere, just because Robinson does offer that little bit extra, I think, as the slightly better player, be it an assist or be it bonus points. And then another point, so Tyrick Mitchell, you've got Mitchell at 6, I've got him at 10. Again, for me, it's just not quite trusting Palace's clean sheet factor, but I think you must see something in him moving forward in that case.
It's mainly fixtures. Again, I think those fixtures are almost as good as you can get, besides that Chelsea fixture, obviously. But given that he plays as a wing-back, he does offer some attacking threat as well, albeit less than Munoz, which is why he is not as high as Munoz, but yeah, those fixtures are just too good. Yeah, no, completely agree. One other thing I wanted to mention as well, I mean, we've both got Aina and Milenkovic. I mean, this Forest defence, I think people seem to be hesitant to bring Forest players in. The people who started with Forest players in probably haven't brought them out because they just keep churning out points. But I think for me at least, I mean, after the Newcastle game, where we scored 3 against them, I was like, okay, maybe Forest defence is going to tail off. But we've actually seen them rally and do the complete opposite, and they've been stringing together clean sheets. Aina, I think, has moved to the top scoring defender in FPL. So, I mean, where do you stand on advice? Do people bring in Aina? I mean, the fixtures aren't that bad. Yeah, I mean, to shut out Tottenham is nothing to kind of be taken lightly. Tottenham are a good attack. Granted, they can be a bit hit and miss at times, but in general, they're a good attack. So shutting out Tottenham is pretty impressive from Nottingham Forest. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to between Aina and Milenkovic, it probably is just your budget. I mean, there's 0.4 million between them. Admittedly, that's not a great deal, but like you say, Aina is the top scoring defender now, so if you've got the funds, then you probably do just go there. Yeah,
exactly, because I mean, if their previous form is anything to go off, their next set of fixtures suggest that we're in for more of the same. And then Colwell, just finish off on Colwell. Colwell slipped down a bit for me. I keep getting teased with a Chelsea clean sheet, and it seems to keep disappearing right at the end of the game. It's not to say they have a bad defence, but it's just a bit leak, and that's where Colwell's main value is. Granted, he did, have an assist, but I think moving forward, it's we can't really expect too many more assists from Colwell.
Yeah, he did show a bit more attacking threat than we've seen, really. Like you say, he got the assist, and I think he had a goal disallowed, so there is a bit of attacking threat there. Chelsea's fixtures are still pretty good. They've got Ipswich, they've got Palace, they've got Wolves. But the reason he drops for me is just because in that 5 game week window that we're looking at, that 5th game is now City away. So that's the only reason he drops for me.
Yeah, completely fair. And then on to premium defenders. So not a huge amount of movement on either of our lists. We still like the Trent, Gabriel, Saliba. But then VVD, you've moved VVD up to 4 ahead of Timber now. If you want to take us through that, that's probably just fixtures based on it.
Yeah, it's just fixtures based. Again, that 5 game week window. Now, for Liverpool, that 5th game is now Ipswich at home. So it's just a purely fixtures thing. The problem with Van Dijk is that he is actually very expensive. Like 6.5 million when you can get Gvardiol for 6. You can get, you can get Gabriel and Saliba for 6.3. And even Trent is only 0.6 more. I think Van Dijk's just a bit too expensive to actually buy, but he will get points. Yeah,
agreed. And then Gvardiol Cucurella. Cucurella's gone down for me slightly. That is only because, as I said before with Colwell, I'm just not trusting their clean sheet potential at the moment. For whatever reason, they just seem to have lapses that come at the end of the second half. But Gvardiol, I mean, the fixtures for City are as good as they've been all season, and I'm assuming that's why he's slid up your list as well.
Yeah, and he's actually showing some ridiculous attacking threat as well.
Yeah.
In the game against Everton, he was very, very attacking. Not quite like Trent levels, but he, in terms of attacking defenders, he is right up there. So if City can actually sort themselves out over this nice period of fixtures, then again, he could be in for a couple of nice hauls, I think.
Yeah, completely agree. And, hopefully we need that bit of variance there. I mean, quite a lot of people have the Gabriel, Saliba, Trent. There seems to be quite a bit of a template at the moment defender-wise. So, Gvardiol could be a good premium shake-up to that. So we'll wait and see. But yeah, if you want to let us know what you think of our lists, let us know if there's anyone we missed, and we will see you again for the midfielder segment. Right, welcome back to the midfielder segment, and we will get things started on budget mids. And quite a big talking point is Martinelli. So the Saka injury has left a bit of a void at Arsenal, but it seems like Martinelli is the next man up.
Yeah, I mean, depending on when you're watching this, we're recording this before Arsenal's game against Ipswich, so we don't know whether he started, what he did. But yeah, I think he probably is going to be the one who plays on the right in Saka's absence. The only evidence that I've got for that is just that he played there when Saka went off. But I think that's all I need, to be honest, evidence-wise. So yeah, I just think that his minutes or his expected minutes just go up now, which makes him brilliant. And for the price, 6.8 million is cheap.
Yeah, I think that's the key point. All the other players in this list tend to play for, teams which are doing slightly worse, or attacks nowhere near on par of Arsenal's potential. So I think anyone who's in that attack who looks like they're going to be getting starting minutes is always going to be a great option. And then, so next point, quite an interesting point. For whatever reason, Brad seems committed to this Eze narrative. I'll do my best to wean him off of it. I mean, we've both got Sarr high, understandably. The returns and evidence are there. What's the Eze hype? Enlighten me.
So, right, admittedly, he probably isn't trusted fitness-wise, just given that he will probably be injured within a few weeks. But I was surprised at how quickly he returned from injury, to start with. Secondly, I was surprised that he played 88 minutes in his first game back. Even before it's probably game state, given it was 0-0. I'm sure if they were winning, he would have been taken off, but they weren't, and he wasn't. So I think that even before his injury, we didn't see minutes as high as 88. He was getting kind of 70s and things like that. I just think that Palace's fixtures are unbelievable, as we mentioned, in the defenders section. And yes, Mateta might be on penalties, Eze might be on penalties. He's got some pen chair. So for me, that means he has to be above Sarr, even though he might not quite get as good minutes as Sarr. Sarr's playing 90 minutes every week, it looks like.
Yeah, I think that's all it is for me, is I don't... we know Eze can do it in the past, and we have seen it, but I mean, this season, again, I just need to see it before I can believe in it. I get that the fixtures are there. I get that we know that Eze has that potential, as we've seen last season, but I need some trigger to make me believe in it this season. And over the past few games, Sarr has provided that. So I think that's why there's the gulf between them at the moment. And then, so another talking point, just quickly, which I understand you've got some quite strong opinions about. Kulusevski, not in your list at all. Which, plus. I mean, but it's quite... I mean, he's strung together 5 starts in a row. He's playing furthest forward for Tottenham. And, he's also got 3 goals within that span. So I don't... what's there to dislike?
Yeah, no, as a player, he is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. And like you say, the positions he's taken up are great. Tottenham attack, besides the week just gone, is great. But all of the things that you just said, were they not also relevant for Maddison? Maddison has strung together however many starts, 3 or 4, and he was playing incredibly well. Probably the best that he's been playing all season. And then he goes and gets benched.
But we've also seen Maddison return the 5th or 6th highest FPL points this season. So if you did have Maddison in your team, then from an FPL standpoint, you would have benefited from it.
True.
Which isn't to say that he he can't get subbed out, and it isn't volatile. But if you did have him, you would have got those points just because of Tottenham's attack.
You would have, but not this week. And
Yeah.
this, for example, game week 19, they've got Wolves at home. That's a game that you'd want your Tottenham attacker playing in, but there's a chance that any of them are benched, apart from Solanke, really, and maybe Son. But I just don't like the fact that he might not play.
Yeah, I think the difference is that from game week 10 to game week 18, what we've seen with your Maddisons and your Brennan Johnsons is when they are rotated, they'll get about 70 minutes, 60 minutes, half an hour, and they'll come in spurts like that. But from game week 10 to game week 18, we've seen Kulusevski get 90 minutes in all but 2 games. So I think if you're playing the entire game and you're getting all of those minutes, then it just means that naturally you're not the first one on the block for rotation, which I think is a reason we can be slightly more optimistic about Kulusevski than a Maddison or a Brennan Johnson.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I disagree. I also think that if you're the most important player in that side, would you not be rested in the easy fixtures? Like it could go both ways, I think.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Kulusevski benched against Wolves this weekend.
Yeah, I just think at the moment there aren't many Prem games. Given where Tottenham's position is and given they have European aspirations, it's not so much like a Liverpool or an Arsenal where they're pretty much banked for Europe already and they've got sort of other cup interests. Tottenham are actively chasing that. They can't afford to rest good players in the league at the moment because of where they're situated.
If that's the case, then why didn't Maddison play in the last game?
Because we don't know that Maddison is even, for whatever reason, they don't seem to think Maddison is the best option, and they've shown that they can excel, without Maddison as well.
Yeah.
Granted, you are right. It is very hard to predict. I just think after stringing together 5 starts in a row in this Tottenham team, I just feel like that has to mean something.
But then Maddison plays against City, they win, play brilliantly. Maddison doesn't play against Forest, they lose 1-0.
Yeah.
What? I just think that anybody in that team can get rested, and I really wouldn't be surprised if Kulusevski didn't play against Wolves or didn't start against Wolves anyway.
Yeah,
I just can't trust him.
Yeah, and it's completely fair. I mean that's why I've got him at 8. And not at 2 or 3 because I understand he is a minute's risk, but I just think his is the most. He seems to be by default the safest of the rotation risks when you're talking about him, Maddison, and Brennan Johnson.
Yeah, that's true.
So but I mean, as an overall sort of warning, if you are going to bring those guys into your team, just make sure you have good bench cover because when they play, they are part of a brilliant attack, and the points are there, as we've seen with Maddison, Kulusevski, and even Johnson earlier in the season. But just make sure you have some decent bench cover.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, so another talking point. So Iwobi. So Brad, you are normally Mr. Fixtures, and Fulham's fixtures are brilliant. So I don't understand how Iwobi has dropped to 9 for you when I've got him at 4.
It's more that just there's too many other good options, to be honest. I like Iwobi. I think he's great. I think if you were going to buy Iwobi, you probably would have bought him 2 weeks ago rather than now, even though the fixtures are still good. But yeah, I just think the options like the Semenyo's, Martinelli's, Eze's, Sars, I think they're just all better than him. Admittedly, there's quite a lot of good budget midfielders at the moment, so being 9 on this list is still pretty good, I'd say.
Yeah. Yeah, no, completely fair. I think for me, it's more just that we've actually seen Iwobi stick to, this much more attacking role than this much more direct role. And I just think Fulham at the moment are playing some great football. Fulham and Bournemouth both sort of fit into that category where they don't care which one of the big boys they're playing against. They will still. There's a certain spirit there, and that spirit is translating very well into attacking football. So I think that's why Iwobi keeps his high spot for me. And then one of interest to me, which is, as a Newcastle fan, quite surprising that you have him and I don't. Joe Linton, you brought in Joe Linton. So is that just because we're playing brilliantly at the moment? Yeah,
Newcastle are playing some really, really nice football at the moment, and Joe Linton's pretty safe for minutes, I'd say. There's a world where he even does get some minutes in the front three. probably not that likely at the moment, given everyone is actually fit. But there is a world where it happens, and the fixtures are so good. I mean, even the ones that don't look good on paper, like Man United this week. Man United have just been turned over by Wolves and Bournemouth. Then there's Tottenham the week after, which is red on the FPL site. There's no way that an attacker playing Spurs is a red fixture. And then it's Wolves and it's Bournemouth and it's Southampton. The fixtures are just too good.
Yeah, completely agree. And as we're seeing, I mean, what we see from Joe Linton quite a lot in terms of, you know, the way he lines up alongside Tonali and Bruno. Joe Linton is the first box crasher out of those two. So, you know, whenever Gordon likes to get to the byline, Jacob Murphy likes to get to the byline, we like to play those balls in behind. Every time those cutbacks come across, it's Joe Linton is the first man who hangs on the edge of the area. And that's where we've seen him do a lot of work and damage from. And also he's an absolute unit, so he's always a set piece threat as well. So I think, you know, out of our midfielders, he's definitely presents the most threat, 100%. And then premium mids, not a huge amount of movement for premium mids, but, you know, leading on from what we're talking about, Joe Linton, Gordon has shot up both of our lists. I mean, the guy himself, every time he cuts in, I mean, he looks dangerous. I mean, he's been out of the goals and out of the returns a bit recently, but he's still been playing well. And so, you know, now we've seen him regress a bit towards the mean and the returns are there.
Yeah, I mean, he just... to me, he's quite similar to Bowen in that they just kind of tick along with returns. Like, Gordon's got 3 returns in the last 3 weeks. It's no like massive hauls, but each week he's returned. The only reason that Gordon is higher than Bowen is just because of the fixtures. Like Newcastle's fixtures are great, West Ham's not so much. So to me, they're both really good options, and they are in a bit of a weird price point. They're kind of cheaper than your Odegaard, Fernandes, but they're more expensive than the budget mids. But if you've got the funds to go for them, then I really like them. Yeah,
I agree. And what Gordon and Bowen offer you that some of the others don't, you know, some of like your Odegaards or your Mbuemos, is Gordon and Bowen offer that really nice floor. You know, as you say, they keep ticking along with returns. And yeah, you know, with good fixtures, it's hard to see that not continuing. I think also at the moment, the reason I've gone Gordon over Bowen is at the moment we seem to be not just beating teams 1-0 or scraping 1-0. We seem to be going 2-0 up and carrying on, hammering on the door. And you know, we've been scoring by the truckload recently. So I think, you know, that the pie at the minute is just a lot bigger at Newcastle than it is at West Ham.
Yeah.
But I mean, I do love Bowen as well. And then Foden has slipped slightly further down for me. I mean, he's played well the last couple of weeks, you know, and the opportunities have been there. I just think we saw Foden do most of his FPL damage last year when City were smashing people 3-0, 4-0. And, you know, he would nip in with about 2 of those. But while City are grinding out these 1-0s or these 2-1s or missing penalties, it's just not the nicest environment. Foden seems to score when City are, you know, sort of routing teams, not when they're grinding wins out.
Yeah, I thought he played really well against Everton, to be fair. But yeah, he just can't... And he's actually getting good minutes at the moment, which is one thing that we usually kind of wary about with Foden. At the moment, he's getting the minutes. Just City aren't at it. So until City kind of recover from whatever's going on, then he can't be above the likes of Mbuemo, Bowen, Odegaard, Gordon for me.
Yep, completely agree. And then Fernandes naturally tumbled down both of our lists for the obvious reason that, you know, he is suspended. It's a shame me and Brad, both Fernandes owners, so that has both hit us fairly hard. And also, I'm sure for a lot of you who replace Saka with Fernandes, that has also hit you equally hard. So, yeah, I mean, he still occupies a 9 spot kind of by default, just because, you know, when he does come back, he will be good. But, yeah, also, United don't look great either at the moment.
Yeah, it's not great, but it's better than, like you say, the other guys. I mean, KDB... he just doesn't seem to play when you think he should play, so can't really trust him. But yeah, like you say, Fernandes will be good when he's back. I mean, if it's a 1-game suspension, which I think it is, then it's Liverpool straight into Liverpool away, which is not ideal. But then it's Southampton at home the following week, so there is some good fixtures there. So I don't think he's necessarily a must sell unless you haven't got a bench, of course. Then you would have to sell him.
Yeah, I think he's probably not a must sell just because there's not a huge amount of glaring options you move to. If he was, if you had two free transfers and he could necessitate buying an Isak, for example, then absolutely he's a must sell. But if you're just looking to another midfield option, because there's no one on fire or no one standing out, I think he's probably a hold. Or definitely not worth wasting a transfer on. Right, that rounds out the midfielder segment. Let us know what you think of our list. Let us know if there's anyone we've missed, and also remind Brad that Kulusevski's a good option. See you in a bit. Right, welcome back to the forwards segment, and we'll start off with budget forwards. Don't get me wrong, I love a bit of João Pedro, but still keeping him at 1?
Yeah, I think he's good. It's close between him and Wood at the top, to be honest. I think they are the two that are... I think there's quite a gap between them two and the others, to be honest. Yeah. I think they're the two to go for. But yeah, with João Pedro, it's just that I wouldn't... I mean, I own João Pedro in my team, and I am not selling him. I don't have plans to sell him at the moment, just because the fixtures are still okay. I think when the fixtures get a bit worse, then there's a time to go to your Wood or something like that. But for now, the fixtures are just okay, and all the time he's getting good minutes. He's on penalties. It's hard to say that he's not going to be good.
Yeah, I agree, and I think we've just seen. I mean, that's why he stayed at 2 for me. I think we've just seen him be a bit unlucky, really, in that sense, because as you say, the minutes are there, his presence on pens is there. He's still got that sort of talismanic role for them, and I think the returns will come. But I understand he is starting to test a few people's patience, including mine, which is why he's slid to 2. But as you say, I'm not selling him either. And then Jesus. So Jesus is rising up the list quite rapidly. Again, in a similar situation to Martinelli, he seems to be one of the main beneficiaries of the Saka injury. I mean, his returns have been hard to question as well. Again, Brad mentioned before that we are doing this prior to the Arsenal game, so we will wait and see how that shakes out. But I think, given the returns have been there, and given the attack he'll be part of, he is just quite a nice option.
Yeah, I think that if we knew that he was gonna start 3 or 4 of the next 5, he'd be top of my list. Yeah. But there's just that uncertainty around him actually starting. I mean, I don't doubt that he'll get minutes in all the games, which again is a good thing. But yeah, it's just it's a big minutes risk, even though I do think he'll start the odd few.
Yeah, completely agree, and I think that's why we've got him at 4 because of his ceiling, not because of his floor. And then the rest of the list just sort of does itself. It's not a huge amount going on there. Vardy going down, and on mine, Wissa going slightly up. Armstrong entering just because Southampton's fixtures turn alright, but not a huge amount to talk about really there. So I think the main areas that we are going to talk about is the premium forward section. Now, Brad remains reluctant to accept Isak as our Lord and Saviour, despite his current form, and Haaland missing a penalty. So yeah, if you want to talk us through that.
Yeah, it's really close. It is really close, to be fair. If Haaland had worse fixtures, Isak would be top of my list. But I don't know. I think maybe I've got this false thing in my head, but I think City will score goals in these fixtures. I mean, they've got Leicester, they've got a load of other good fixtures. So all the time they've got good fixtures, I just can't put Haaland lower, I don't think.
Yeah. And see, I do understand. I think there is also a factor. A lot of managers, some people still have Haaland in their teams. I think so many people, his form earlier in the season is so burned into people's memories that being pragmatic about what to do with him is slightly trickier. So for me, I was pretty slow getting him out of my team, if I'm being honest. But once I cut that cord, it became a lot easier to assess him objectively, I think. And just at the moment, even missing a penalty, that's not going to do wonders for his confidence over the next few games, especially the way City are playing. Whereas, you look at someone like Isak, for example, talent-wise, I mean, they're both absolutely fantastic, but confidence is such a huge thing for strikers, as we've seen. So I just think that, Isak is just in a way better mind state to be hauling. than Haaland is.
Yeah, I don't envy the position of Haaland owners though. I mean, well, you should have sold him earlier. Is the point? But if you still own him now, he is a tough sell because of the fixtures. Like you look week on week, like you're going to sell him before Leicester? Probably not. Like there's weeks where you just look at it and you think I can't sell Haaland this week. So I don't envy that position, but the point is you probably should have got rid of earlier.
Yeah, and as you say, there are even people considering buying him for this upcoming fixture. So I think because you've now come out the other side, he is way too tricky a sell, especially considering how important transfers are at the moment more than ever because of suspensions and bans. There seems to be so much of that floating around at the moment that suspensions, injuries and stuff, that these transfers are more important than ever. So yeah, unfortunately Haaland's going to have to be a hold for those who do have him. And then Mateta slid up both of our lists. I mean, the fixtures are brilliant. And Palace are starting to pick it up a little bit.
Yeah, they are, to be fair. I mean, no goals against Bournemouth, but that game was really quite open. I watched a lot of it, and it was quite open given that it was a 0-0. But both teams are good in attack at the moment anyway. I do think that when Eze and Sarr behind Mateta is a recipe for goals. So yeah, with those fixtures, I think Mateta is a good option. We know, I think I mentioned this before, but Glasner has literally told us that Mateta can't play 90 every game. So don't be expecting that. But I think he gets enough minutes to do well in these fixtures.
Yeah, completely agree. And also, so Gakpo, I mean, where I stand, I think Gakpo's a fantastic footballer. And, as we're seeing, he is more than capable of a return. It's just a shame he is part of one of the most rotated attacks in the league. But, despite that, he has gone above the likes of Watkins for me, who, we've seen Duran may have been given the keys now. I mean, I know Duran's suspended, but 4 starts in a row, that can't be injuries anymore.
Yeah, that's not good for Watkins, especially given how expensive he is as well. And he's part of a Villa attack that, admittedly, Villa have got quite good fixtures now, but they're not like one of the best attacks in the league or anything like that. So at 8.8 million or whatever he is now, you can't be holding on to that if he's not this 90-minute man.
Yeah.
But with Gakpo, yeah, I think Gakpo's been a beneficiary of Slot, maybe just because Klopp tended to play him down the middle. I think he's much better when he plays off the left. Well, I guess we've seen. We saw it when he played for Netherlands. He typically played off the left. I think he's much better there. But yeah, like you say, the problem is they've got too many good attackers for him to get 90 minutes every game. Yeah. That's all it is.
Yeah, completely agree. And then Cunha. So weirdly this week there have been quite a few transfers in for Cunha, which I was quite surprised about. I know he's bagged the last few weeks, but that ban is coming. So understand FOMO maybe eating a few people alive. I'm one of the few managers who, well, not few, there's loads of us actually, one of the managers who held on to him just to wait and see when the ban would be introduced. And that deal with the devil, as I've seen on Twitter, seems to have paid off. But I don't know if the ban, we may get one more Cunha game, but we're definitely not going to get 2 more Cunha games before the ban. So it's definitely not a buy.
It's close. That ban is close. But if you can get one more fixture out of him, it's a good one to get, given that it's Spurs.
Yeah.
So obviously we've seen that the Spurs defence is a mess. It's a mess at the best of times, but they're like missing 3 players, so it's like
and now missing Dragusin as well. Yeah. I don't think they have a single starting centre back in the squad. So get ready to see some real, and we may even see Sarr back there for all we know. Like it's going to be a real bric-a-brac centre-back pairing.
So I mean, if Cunha does get this game, then that's brilliant for people to have held him for sure.
Yeah, exactly. That rounds out the forward section. Let us know what you think of our lists, and we will see you again next week.
Okay, and that wraps up the player rankings video for Game Week 19. If you've got any comments on anything that we discussed, any of the players that you think either of us have got wrong, then let us know in the comments. Do hit like, do subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.